How much does it cost to live in Bangkok, Thailand in 2026? I'm Sam, I've been living here for 7 years now and the city has changed a lot. We're talking prices, lifestyle, even what you can get for your money. And in this video, I'm gonna break everything down for you. Rent, food, transport, dating, nightlife, travel, and even all those things that people normally forget about. No guesswork, just real numbers from examples of my own monthly spending and what expats are paying right now in Bangkok. And I had to look through some of the comments I did on this video last year so that everything is covered in this video. Okay, so let's get into it and start with one of the biggest expenses here, which is rent. Okay, let me take you back in time. So the first condo I ever rented here in Bangkok 7 years ago, that cost me 9,000 baht. So I'll put all the conversions on screen so you can see what it is compared to British pounds and American dollars. 9,000 baht got me a studio condo right near MRT Ratchadat, very basic. Then my next condo, I moved to Ramanine, which is a very popular area with expats and there's tons of condos there. It's close to the MRT, not so close to the BTS, but there's lots of good affordable condos. And I paid around 13,000 baht for my second condo there. And I was there for 4 years. It was a place called Supalai Veranda at Ramanine. Absolutely loved it. Had an incredible pool, decent gym, sauna, 7-Eleven, massage shops, all that kind of stuff. And that was a great base for me and I absolutely loved it. However, now I'm in my current condo, I pay 30,000 Thai baht. I'm in the center of the city, I'm close to the BTS, have a great gym, I'm close to the malls. So I'm paying for all these factors, which is why my rent's gone up. Plus, I'm actually renting a 2-bedroom place. So I wanted a bit more space. It's around 70 square meters. Okay, so if you see me looking at my laptop, it's because I've made loads of notes about this video and I want to make sure I cover everything. So factors depend on how close you are to the BTS, the mall, the size of the condo, the facilities, and of course the location. If you choose an area like Prompong, Chitlom, Tonglo, Asok, you're going to be paying a lot more compared to an area like Bang Na or Onut or Lat Phrao. But let's say in Bangkok, on average, you're going to be looking to pay between 10,000 baht up to 50,000 baht for a condo here. Obviously, you can go higher than that. It just depends how bougie you want to go. But let's say for this, the average you're looking to pay for renting a condo would be 18,000 baht, depending on the size, location, and facilities. Okay, now we're done with rent. Let's move on to the next expense in Bangkok, which is bills. So the first bill you're looking to pay is Wi-Fi. Again, you can get a standard, basic, good Wi-Fi for around 500 baht. Electric, you'll probably pay around 1,800 baht per month. Again, it depends how many AC units you have, how often you are in the condo. Water, I would say you're probably only looking to pay around 100 baht a month. And a maid, you could pay around 800 baht per visit. Okay, then there's also subscriptions. I have a lot of those myself, whether it's YouTube Premium, iCloud, Canva, CapCut, Netflix, ChatGPT, all these. And I've put that amount as just over 2,000 baht per month. So all of those bills, let's say it's around 5,500 baht per month. Okay, next section is transport. And let's break this down into 3 parts. You've got bike taxis, you've got car taxis, and then you've got the BTS and the MRT. BTS is the Sky Train, and the MRT is the Underground Train. Let's say one bike journey is around 50 baht, and you're using that, let's say 5 or 6 times per week. In the month, that's over 1,000 baht just for bike taxis. Okay, then you've got car taxis, which could be, flagging down a taxi on the side of the road, or you could use the Bolt or the Grab app. Let's say one journey is around 160 baht, which could be, 15 or 20-minute journey. You do that 8 times a week. In a month, that's over 5,000 baht. And then you got the BTS and the MRT, fairly cheap. Let's say the average journey is around 35 baht. You do that a couple of times a week, and then you're paying around 400 baht just for the BTS and the MRT. Okay, so I've put transport here for the month as around 6,500 baht. That can vary depending how much you travel for work, to meet friends, to do activities, things like that. Okay, next expense I'm going to talk about is dating, quite a juicy topic, and Bangkok, as you may or may not be aware, is one of the best places for dating. Bangkok has a very high percent of the people living here single, which is I think over 50% of the whole city. So the options are high, and also in terms of where to go, you've got a ton of options, whether it comes to going to markets, sky bars, street food restaurants, luxury restaurants, cool activities to do. The list goes on and on and on in Bangkok. And on top of that, dating apps in Thailand are very popular. People use Bumble, they use Tinder, they use Thai Friendly. So if you come to Bangkok with the intention of dating, then I'm sure you've got no issue there. So let's say, for example, you have 1 or 2 dates per week. You could go for more of a cheaper side, which could be 500 baht for the date for you and the date. Or you could go a bit more bougie, maybe go to a nice steak restaurant or a fancy sky bar where you're going to get ripped off with these cocktails, and you might be looking to pay 5,000 baht for the two. So let's take an average of those two. You're paying around 2,000 baht per date. You have potentially 6 dates per month. That's 12,000 baht you're just paying on dating. Okay, next expense in Bangkok is activities, and similar to dating, you've got a ton of options when you're here. This could be meeting friends, could be doing a fun activity, or going to a night market. Could even be a painting class, or getting your hair cut, renting a badminton court, or even having a cooking class. And that's the beauty of Bangkok, it makes you more outgoing. I remember when I first came to Thailand, I was quite introverted. And then after years of being here, doing these things, going to these new places, meeting new people, it really brings you out of your shell. So let's say you do 2 or 3 activities per week. That's 5,000 baht there for that expense per month. Okay, next up is shopping. And a lot of people come to Bangkok just for the shopping because the malls here are insane. I actually recently just made a video which I can link right here. It just summarizes all of the best malls to go in Bangkok. I'll also link that video down in the description. But yeah, Bangkok has some insane malls. You've got Icon Siam, which is right near the Chao Phraya River. Absolutely stunning, probably better than most malls in the world. It's super luxurious. You'll find, Dior, Gucci, Hermes, all these fancy brands there, but there's also an indoor floating market on the ground floor. Tons of restaurant options. There's even like terraces where you can watch the sunset on the river. So that is iconic. Then you've got Dusit Central Park, which is a brand new mall, just opened a few months ago. It's right next to Lumpini Park. They've got a huge rooftop park, which is the biggest in the city, on top of the mall, which is absolutely insane. Inside is very, very well designed. Then you've got one of my favorites, which is M-Sphere, that's in Prompong. Again, kind of a new mall, it's only around 2 years old-ish. It's very futuristic, you've got lights, you've got the market at the bottom, you've got Tribe, which is like a Sky Beach Club with the city view, and a lot of events happening in M-Sphere Mall too. And then you've got the OG classic, which is Terminal 21. So Terminal 21 is right in the heart of the city in Asok, which each floor is themed after a different world city essentially. Great for souvenirs. They've got an amazing food court at the top of Terminal 21 called Pier 21, I think. And also great for shopping, and it's very convenient. And then MBK, which is just like fake knockoff goods, friendly people, just a vibe. It's a vibe in MBK. If you come into Bangkok, you have to visit MBK. Fake watches, the elephant pants, the t-shirts, electronics as well. It's got everything. So let's say if you do a bit of shopping per month, whether you're getting just the essentials or clothes or electronics, I put that amount as 5,000 baht per month. Okay, next up is healthcare, a very, very important one. A lot of people might skip over this one, but I think it's essential, especially with living in Thailand. If you're gonna have a decent health insurance plan, you're probably gonna look to pay around 4,500 baht per month just for that. Again, it depends on if you have any conditions, how old you are, and the type of policy you get. And then you've got the yearly health checkup, which obviously you wouldn't do that monthly, but let's say it's around 6,000 baht. You put that in a monthly cost, it's around 500 baht. So for the health checkup plus the monthly health insurance, that's 5,000 baht on healthcare per month. And having health insurance is one of the best decisions you can make. Real quick, if you're traveling or moving abroad, one of the most important things you need to check off that list is health insurance. Health insurance doesn't have to be confusing. I personally use Pacific Prime, and it makes life so much easier. You've got a million options and no idea what works for you. But with Pacific Prime, it's clear, it's simple. You can find the right plan for your health and budget in just minutes with guidance from an award-winning team. That's why more than 1.5 million expats already use them. For me, I use them myself. It's the peace of mind which is the biggest part. You don't have to stress about the what ifs when you're abroad. If you ever need help, they've got a team right here in Bangkok, plus offices all over the world. So wherever you are, someone's got your back. If you're ready to sort out your coverage, just scan this QR code on screen or use the link below in the description. It's smart coverage with zero confusion, essentially insurance that fits your life, not the other way around. Let's get back to it. Okay, the next section is nightlife, and this is an interesting one. It depends on how often you want to party. Some people might not go out often, maybe once every month, once every 2 months, or they just don't party at all. And then there's the others which come to Bangkok and they might party every week or even multiple times per week. But Bangkok is one of the best places in the world for nightlife because it's got such a variety. Okay, first area, you've got Khao San, classic touristy area, cheap drinks, loud music, good vibes, good energy, backpacker vibes, but there are better places to go than that in Bangkok. For example, another place to go in Bangkok for partying is Thong Lo, a bit more classy, high-so. You've got places like Tapioca, Muin Club, which is good for EDM, and Black Cabin Bar, which is like a secret bar with jazz, rock, alternative pop music. And then you've got the Prompong area of Bangkok where you have Escape, which is like a rooftop kind of vibe, good music, good drinks, good food. That's at the top of Quarty Mall. And then in Prompong, you have Sukhumvit 24, which is kind of a hot spot for nightlife where you have Baccarat, GOT, Upper House, Boulevard 24. Very trendy and definitely a happening spot in Bangkok nowadays. Then in Asok, which is in the center of the city, you've got Apartment 101, which is a cool New York style penthouse club, and also abandoned mansion where they have karaoke, they have live music, and it's like you walk in and you step back in time. And then you've got Sukhumvit 11, which is classic spot. Again, quite touristy, a lot of nightlife down there, a lot of restaurants. In terms of the clubs there, you've got Levels, Havana Social, which is like a hidden Cuban style bar, Sugar, good for hip hop, Bafros, and then these cool restaurants, which are kind of like party restaurants, like Baya, and then Pastel, which is like a rooftop, but then at certain times, maybe after 10 p.m, it turns into more of a party vibe. And then there's RCA, think Elysium, Route 66, Onyx, Space Plus, huge clubs, more of a Korean Chinese vibe, but there's also foreigners there too from, America, Europe. Lots of pretty girls around RCA, and also it's kind of like the clubs there are more of table service, so getting a bottle with friends is more of the way to go. And then you've got Soi Nana, not that Nana, I mean the Soi Nana, which is right behind Chinatown. And some people don't know about this, but it's just a small stretch of bars and cafes and club, well, not so much clubs, more bars, but it's called Soi Nana. And the bars you'll find there are really, really unique. Thai style cocktail bars, but very cozy, very intimate, and a great date spot. So yeah, if you go into a place like Khao San Road, you're not gonna spend much money, maybe 1,000, maybe 1,500 baht. But if you go into a place like Thong Lo, for example, or somewhere in Prompong, you're gonna spend more than that, potentially 3,000 or 4,000 baht per person. So let's say you went out once a week in Bangkok, you're paying on average 10,000 baht per month for nightlife. Okay, the next expense is travel. And there's two types, there's domestic and obviously international. So let's talk about domestic travel in Thailand. You've got flights, hotel, food, and activities. So the good thing about Bangkok is it's a hub in the middle of Thailand, It's very central. If you want to go to the north in Chiang Mai, it's just over an hour's flight, and it's pretty cheap. If you're looking to pay probably, depending on the time of the flight, you could just pay 1,000, 2,000 baht, even 3,000 baht return. If you go to the south, you go to Phuket, again, that's just over an hour's flight. If you go into Krabi, parts of Isan, again, it's around an hour or so flight. So everywhere is in touching distance to Bangkok. Okay, so let's say, for example, you stayed in Bangkok a little bit too long. you're getting itchy feet, you want to go to the beach or you want to go to the mountains and you want to get away from the hustle and bustle of Bangkok, I've got an example scenario for you here. Flights, 3,000 baht return to another city, let's say Phuket. Hotel, 2,000 baht a night, let's say you're staying 2 nights, that's 4,000 baht for the hotel. And food, a few days of eating out, could be 2,000 baht. Add on activities on top of that, and that's another 2,000 baht. So let's say a weekend away in Thailand from Bangkok to another province, you're looking to pay around 11,000 baht. Flights, hotel, travel, activities, food. And again, that's just taking an average trip. You could go bougie and you could spend 8,000 baht on a hotel per night or go to these fancy restaurants. But let's say for this example, we just take an average amount, 11,000 baht. Okay, next one is food. One of my favorite expenses in Bangkok. I'm a big foodie. And I broke this down into a few sections. So let's say street food. You're looking to pay around 50 baht a meal. If you're cooking at home, that could be 200 baht per meal. If you're ordering on Grab, 400 baht. And then if you're eating out at a good restaurant, let's say 800 baht. So obviously you're not going to be cooking at home all the time or eating out all the time or ordering. It's going to be a mix and match of street food, cooking, eating out, ordering at home. So let's say the average per day you spend on food is 600 baht. You can spend around 18,000 baht per month in Bangkok just on food. Okay, so you're probably watching this now and thinking, but you didn't include this and this. But this is a monthly cost of living. So, for example, a trip home. I'm from the UK. That might cost around 45,000 baht return trip home. But that's once a year. I wouldn't include it in the monthly budget. And then there's also things like investments. I didn't want to include this in the monthly cost of living because that's separate. Let's say you're taking around 10 to 30% of what you're earning and invest in that. That could be in a 401k, mutual funds or index funds, or even creating a portfolio or investing in stocks. Then there's the emergency savings, which should be separate to your monthly cost of living. So that should be 3 months of your monthly expenses saved up. But if you want to get ahead, you should have 6 months, so you've got a nice cushion there. And then I obviously mentioned domestic trips, but not international trips, because those come far and few between, obviously depending on the person. And then international trips can range from 25,000 baht per trip up to over 100,000 baht per trip, depending on the location. But I didn't obviously include that in the monthly cost of living. And yeah, I also wanted to talk about visas because I didn't include that in the monthly budget because most of the time they're just one-off fees that you pay. So I'll run through you some of the visa options you've got in Thailand. You've got the visa exemption, which is for 60 days. And obviously if you want to extend that another 30 days, you're going to pay around 2,000 baht. But the visa exemption itself is for free. Then you've got the DTV visa. Obviously you need funds in the bank to show that, but there's a one-time fee of 10,000 baht to get that DTV. Then you've got the education visa. If you're going to enroll in the school, say for example you're learning Thai, you could spend around 40,000 baht per year for that education visa. And then you've got the retirement visa, which is 800,000 baht in the bank or a monthly income of 65,000 baht plus. And then a work permit, a lot of the time your company will take care of that. And then the elite visa starts from around 1 million baht for 5 years, so very pricey. So those are the visa options, but I didn't include those in the monthly cost of living because most of the time they're one-off fees anyway. And what I will say is this list is for someone who's single or dating, but they don't have a family yet. Because if you do have a family, I would add these to the list. We're talking school fees. If it's international, that's very expensive. Extra school activities, maybe even a nanny, and of course, higher health insurance fees. And just before I tell you the total amount for cost of living in Bangkok 2026, do comment below about what I've missed in this video, or whether you agree on the amounts that I've said so far. I'm curious to know your opinion. So the grand total amount for the cost of living in Bangkok is 96,000 Thai baht. That's around 3,000 USD or 2,300 Great British pounds. Again, if you have a family, you'll expect to pay more than that for spending more on rent, more on your baby, more on school or education fees. But that being said, 3,000 USD, 2,300 pounds, I would say if you had at least 2,500 USD, you can be comfortable on that. Between $1,000 to $2,500, of course you can do that in Bangkok, but for me that's not comfortable. And if you really want to cover everything that I've covered in this video, whether we're talking dating, activities, travel, nightlife, rent, food. I think you'll need at least $2,500 to be comfortable. But for this total amount, I put it as 3,000 USD. So yeah, that's what it really costs to live in Bangkok, Thailand in 2026. Some months are cheaper, some months are more expensive, but overall, it's still incredible value compared to most big cities. It's not perfect, but if you're smart with your money, you can live really, really well here. If you found this breakdown useful, drop a comment below and share your thoughts. I'll reply to every single comment, and don't forget to subscribe as I've got more Thailand videos coming soon.